Hey guys, where has John Cena been lately? I don't know because I can't see him, but I'm assuming he's been chilling. He is an icon and a legend, and I was severely disappointed when I found out that the movie The Invisible Man wasn't about him. But on top of all of that, he used to be dropping bars.
Boobies.
The question is, was his rapping actually any good? I'm gonna give my thoughts on that after listening to his rap album for the very first time. Yes, you are about to get a track-by-track review of John Cena's album You Can't See Me. Don't say I don't treat you guys. This is CDTVProductions, and let's get started. I've heard this as John Cena's entrance theme for so long that it's really weird listening to it in the context of an album. His second best entrance theme, by the way, Basic Thugonomics, washes The Time Is Now. But I can't complain about it overall. The iconic horn sample put into the beat by Jake 1 sounds really anthemic, and Cena matches the energy of the beat with some decent bars. I should also point out here that this isn't just John Cena's album, it's a whole collaboration album with his rapper cousin, Tha Trademarc, as you can tell by the much smaller font on the album cover. What he did here was alright too. It is a good enough track to start with, it's just hard to seriously review it after all the memes and its usage as John Cena's entrance theme for so long. With that in mind, I have no other option than to give it a 10 out of 10, perfection, masterpiece.
Yo, bitch, cruise. Don't wanna fuck with us.
Track 2 had the difficult task of following up the greatest, most iconic song of all time, and while it's not terrible, I do think it struggled to maintain that same quality. The instrumental has this bass on it that kinda sounds like my digestive tract after too much cheesecake.
Popping like the cars with the shots, numbing your knob with baselines.
Honestly, overall, the beat just has this strange mishmash of instruments that makes the instrumental sound really ugly, but why is John Cena kinda flowing over it though?
We in the big things, bank accounts overgrown, all types of cheese, Swiss cheddar provolone.
Just ignore the very basic wordplay like crew loaded up with extra bread like a Big Mac, and the way that he raps actually sounds pretty good. I'd say the Trademarc has lines that are less noticeably beginner than John Cena, but there's nothing in his writing that I'm crazy about either. Taking the instrumental into account, it's a pretty cheap sounding track to be honest, but it's only track number 2, so I'm not writing off the album yet.
Curse a fool like the Red Sox, we tighter than headlocks. I'm flowing easy with Freddie Foxxx.
Now with this track, we get the first of 4 features from Freddie Foxxx, aka Bumpy Knuckles, who has been dropping rap albums since the 80s. Freddie also did 2 of the songs for SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, and I played that game to death as a kid, so it's safe to say I'm in his corner right now. The way that he raps his lines with confidence and a good presence on the track is what makes them sound better. Also, I made a couple lyric cards with the Genius app from this song, so that gave me some entertainment too.
I'm a fat kid, you feed me.
Great stuff.
Right now, put another coat of wax on the ride. For a minute, put the beef and the gats to the side.
Don't Fuck With Us and Flow Easy definitely suffered from what sounds like dated production, at least to me, but the smoother beat on this one doesn't suffer as badly from that in my opinion. It does seem intensely inspired by Kanye West's College Dropout Chipmunk Soul production style, but it does make for a nice beat to listen to. And I actually think this type of smile, everything is gonna be okay track works better than the I'm gonna break your neck you little bitch type of tracks on here so far. Right Now is my favorite on here up to this point.
Let me hear some noise from the crowd. Yeah, we came to kick the door down, it's time to hit the floor now, yo.
And Make It Loud is the antithesis of the last song. More production that sounds like it belongs in the 90s, extreme cheesiness, and very, very simple lyricism. Man, this is not what I expected from the greatest human being to walk our planet, John Cena. And the Trademarc. The opening did make me giggle though, where it's a clip from a live wrestling show, and John Cena says to the crowd, "Let me hear some noise." The crowd proceeds to make noise, and then the commentator Taz says, "That's noise." Thank you for the insight on that call, Taz.
This is just another day in the life. Getting mobbed by fans. Man, nobody even knows who I am.
Okay, I know I had to regretfully violate my man's John Cena talking about that last song, but Just Another Day is an improvement with another more laid-back beat, which again sounds better in the current day. Probably because it's another one produced by Jake One, who has multiple mainstream production credits outside of this album for artists like Drake, J. Cole, and Future. Something that can't be said for the producers for the majority of the other songs on You Can't See Me. And I actually love what John Cena and The Trademarc did with this one, showing the contrast between their lifestyles and problems, with one of them being extremely famous and rich, and the other one being unknown and broke. I like how The Trademarc didn't just pretend to be as rich as millionaire WWE champion John Cena on this album, and instead was entirely honest, because it made for a great concept in this song, and it's the first point in the album where it really feels like there's been some rapping chemistry between John Cena and The Trademarc.
She love white chocolate when I got something sweet.
You walking down the street and I
Rue DeBona. Look guys, male brains don't fully mature until age 25 allegedly, so I've only got a couple more years left to laugh at that. Her hook is pretty nice here though. As the title of the song implies, this one is all about one night stands in the summer with these dirty dogs. I wonder how many mums bought this CD for their children during John Cena's PG era and were shocked to hear lyrics about him fucking a new girl every day of the week.
See how I can whip it.
Wikipedia, why are you gonna mislead me and say that this track is featuring the legendary Big L? Of course, he wasn't alive when this song came out, but maybe John and The Trademarc just somehow got their hands on an unreleased verse from him. But no, it's just a sample from a Big L track. And following this sample from an iconic 90s rapper, we get a verse from John Cena that could best be described as him sounding like he's fighting a losing one-on-one match with a stutter.
Catch me on the scene with 3 chicks. I fuck like a fiend with 3 dicks. Fuck a 16, teen, I'm just sick.
We have another Freddie Foxxx feature, and even though he is a more legitimate rapper, it's not a great verse from him either. Trademarc probably had the strongest verse on this one, but the Big L sample just gave me the very strong urge to go back and listen to his album again. But I won't do it. I'll continue on with this video and keep it pushing.
Kid nasty, doing dirt, don't put it past me. Appetite for destruction, Axel couldn't slash me.
Jake One on the beat once again, so you already know it sounds more professional. And this shit is kinda bumping, it sounds almost sinister with that piano. But John, the attempt at a melodic delivery on this chorus, we need to talk about it.
If you don't know by now, we running the game. Neck froze, got a meal on the chain.
They know I'm nice, they ain't betting on you. That's like playing roulette and betting on blue is a line that made me smile though. That was delivered pretty nicely. And then on the other side of things, we have, I show them so much green, they think I'm farming fucking bean sprouts. When it comes to The Trademarc, once again, there's less attempts at wordplay like that, but I think he actually had some pretty solid rhymes on this track and strung together his lines nicely. The way that he delivers his rapping and uses his voice is getting less interesting as the album goes on, but his writing can be decent at times. Freddie Foxxx feature number 3, and his hook on this slaps, to be honest. He provided the energy necessary to go along with this chaotic beat. Not to mention, his verse was hard too. No disrespect intended to The Trademarc whatsoever, but I feel like if John Cena had to make a rap album, a collaboration with Freddie Foxxx would maybe work better. At the very least, for the energetic songs, he has a stronger voice for it. As for John Cena and Mark, they sound like they're trying to diss each other on here. On the very first verse of this track, John Cena says, "And after I rock, fast forward through the rest of the song." Way to support your friends, John. And then later, if you didn't fast forward through the rest of the song, Trademarc says, "I rip rappers and take responsibility for making future Hall of Famers look third rate." Future Hall of Famers, like John Cena in the WWE Hall of Fame. I think it's time to settle this, guys. I know this dropped 16 years ago, but let's schedule it. John Cena versus The Trademarc at the next WrestleMania. Let's go.
Roll solo to the party, but I leave with your chick. Cause she know that when I'm flowing it's hot.
You're like a proctologist, you're feeling my shit? There's a party in my pants, she be blowing the spot. She call my dick Frank White cause it's notoriously big. Okay, fair enough. I actually like that one. I didn't know there was more than one track about John Cena's sexual escapades on here. And all I can say about that is that's not very PG.
It's John Cena, baby, and we heating up the bean pot. Big up Boston, you know the whole team hot.
Before listening to this, I had no clue what Beantown meant, but it turns out that it's a nickname for Boston that everyone from Boston hates. The best way to make an anthem for a city is by giving it a name that'll make everyone from there reject it instantly. This song has a feature from the underground lyricist Esoteric, who you might know now for being 1/3 of the group Czarface. No surprise that he's the best on this one, but John Cena came through with some okay lyrics as well. As you would expect, it's just full of references to Boston and Boston sports teams, and all his wordplay about it makes sense, and none of it is super groan worthy. Pretty much every single piece of wordplay is a basic simile structure. The word like must have been said at least 100 times on this album. But hey, I'll take this verse over a lot of other ones on the project.
This is catch me in the black truck with the pickup back.
Copped your CD, it sounds great on mute. This is a track that was ahead of its time. That's a great reply card to use on Twitter. Apart from that, this track isn't anything that we haven't heard yet on You Can't See Me. I'd put this one in the category of filler. There's also a weird reference from John to a Kobe Bryant sexual assault case that took place in 2003, and that's probably the weirdest sex bar on the album.
For what it's worth, I see the purpose of life. I see below the surface and the version that you know and hold is not right.
So I have been giving Chaos and Order some shit for their beats on this album so far, but they actually did a pretty good job with this one. I love the sound of that woodwind that plays every 8 bars, and they kind of went crazy with it on the outro. Like, that instrument has a solo at the end of the track. And at this point in the album, I'm really starting to notice that I actually think I prefer Cena to Tha Trademarc vocally. Trademarc's delivery is mostly serious and pretty similar on almost every track, whereas I feel like John changes his up a bit more depending on the mood of the song. I appreciate that John is trying a few different ways of expressing his voice throughout this project.
My name is Bumpy Knuckles, I write that fucking flame and kill for the right price, I got a bucket name.
I think I know why we didn't get a full Freddie Foxxx and John Cena collab album. The testosterone levels would have just been way too high for the average listener to handle. I'm gonna inject some Freddie Foxxx into my veins and maybe my beard will finally fill out. Seriously, I know I didn't love him on Keep Fronting and his lyricism doesn't always blow me away, but from like a holistic rapping perspective, he has the best verses on this album. As for the stars of the show, Cena's verse here wasn't anything special, but Tha Trademarc came through with a nice little rhyme scheme and flow. It's an alright track. You can't tell me this was not inspired by 50 Cent. The second that John said Chain Gang is the click with that heavier tone in his voice, over that Dr. Dre-esque instrumental, I just immediately got hit with 50 vibes. I mean, it did actually make for a decent hook, so that's something. I'm not sure what he meant by 5-0 couldn't even call the cops on us, because why would the cops call themselves on you? And the way that he pronounces this brand of alcohol as Moe Rose is amazing.
We sipping Cleek or the Moe Rose.
But outside of that, it's another song on here. At this point, it just sounds very similar to a lot of the other stuff. What more can I say?
What would you do if it all ended tomorrow? Time running out, ain't no more you can borrow.
But at least we close it out on a bit of a better note, because this is another one of the more sentimental tracks on the album. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the story that John tells in his verse comes across as a tiny bit massively corny, with John talking about this guy coming over to his house and trying to kill him because John gave this guy's wife the FU, and I'm not talking about the signature move. Because John Cena hit her with the pile driver, and I'm not talking about The Undertaker. Because she gave John Cena a 5-knuckle shuffle. The guy pulls a gun out on John Cena because somehow he can see him. John Cena thinks that he doesn't deserve to die because apparently this guy's wife slept with the whole neighborhood, and the attacker can't muster up the courage to go through with it, leaves, and the realization hits John Cena that he should appreciate every single moment of his life because it almost came to an end right there. There certainly was a story told here. The lyrics are tied together better than the Trademarc's verse, though a lot of the time it feels like he's saying a lot of words without really saying much at all. If It All Ended Tomorrow is an alright attempt at the more emotional closing track, even if John's story is a little bit ridiculous.
An ass-kicking anthem, heavyweight or bantam, holding camp for ransom, the microphone phantom.
So, after hearing every track on You Can't See Me for the first time, I have to say, there are some enjoyable tracks on here, but the lines are mostly simplistic. When it comes to The Trademarc, I feel like he thinks that his lines come across as more philosophical and deep than they actually do. As is to be expected with his first rap CD, John Cena really sounds like he's trying to emulate the rappers that he listened to at the time, and the beats almost sound more 90s than 2005, which might have been what it was going for, to be fair, but it just makes it sound really dated when you listen to it today. But here is the official CDTV opinion on how to fix this album. 1. Get Jake 1 to produce every single song. 2. Cut the clear filler out and maybe make it like 10 to 12 tracks long. And 3. Make it a 3-way collaboration album between John Cena, Tha Trademarc, and Freddie Foxxx. And then boom, there you go, you've got a 10 out of 10 certified hood classic. Favorite tracks on here were The Time Is Now, Right Now, Just Another Day, Bad Bad Man, and If It All Ended Tomorrow. The worst, I'd say, are Don't Fuck With Us, Make It Loud, Keep Frontin', Running Game, and This Is How We Roll. Overall, it was not the worst experience I've had listening to an album. It's just pretty much exactly what you would expect from an album like this, perhaps even slightly better. And anyway, there is easily another WWE album out there that exists that is much worse than this, but maybe that's a topic for another video. While we're on the subject of albums, you can click here to watch my video on the best and worst rap albums of 2021, and that's gonna do it for today's video. Thank you to all of my patrons on the screen for the support, and a special shout out to my biggest supporters on there: Big Daddy Foe, David, I Am Region, and Ryan Shadow 507.